He's one of the top legal minds in the country, but when you 2 million isn't a lot, as you noted, but there is a future windfall that could be, on the horizon here. You note that in your piece. What's that look like?
Absolutely, yeah. So all of the Supreme Court justices get very generous pension plans. Basically, the year they retire, they get their full salary for the rest of their life. It's a very, very generous, government pension plan, the most generous of any position in the court, and that's true or any position in the government, and that's true for Supreme Court justices and for federal judges in general. Kavanaugh will get that when he turns 65 in, I think, 7 years, if I'm remembering my math correctly. When he turns 65, he'll get that pension. It's going to overnight double his net worth. He hasn't taken advantage of a lot of the other, things that some of the other justices tend to do to, make money. He hasn't written any books. He hasn't, he can't go on the speaking circuit, but writing books is really the big one that a lot of justices end up talking about and doing. And he hasn't done any of that. So he's comfortably, sitting at about $2 million. Again, I'd love to be worth $2 million, but he's got a major windfall in terms of his net worth and his future.
I know that we're sort of poo-pooing $2 million, but that does afford someone a very comfortable lifestyle, and him and his wife do live a comfortable lifestyle. They send their kids to private school, they belong to an elite country club, but they also have carried around some debt previously. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, and it's also another reason why his net worth might not be higher. He hasn't done a ton of saving other than that 401k I mentioned. He hasn't put a ton of his money into a brokerage account or something like a lot of the other justices have and bought up a bunch of mutual funds. No, he carried tens of thousands of in credit card debt for most of his career as a judge. He did pay it off by the time he got onto the Supreme Court. But that certainly presented he's living large with, if you look at the Maryland, D.C. suburbs are a very wealthy part of the country. You've got a lot of people who make a lot more money than, Justice Kavanaugh does, or at that time Judge Kavanaugh did. And he's, trying to live like the rest of them. I have a feeling this is the that's the result. Sometimes you go into a little bit of debt. He talked about that in his Supreme Court testimony. His house is pretty old, so they had to do a lot of home improvement stuff. He said that they had replaced basically every appliance in the house. So between all of these things, he carried some debt throughout his years, and he still lives a very nice lifestyle. Like you said, sends his kids to private school, members of a very exclusive country club in the area. Absolutely.
When you and I talked last about Chief Justice John Roberts' fortune, we talked about how his wife really contributed to that. She had a very lucrative career. What about Brett Kavanaugh's wife? Does she contribute to the fortune at all?
She doesn't have too many assets. She has a very small retirement savings account from when she was in the federal government. But other than that, no. She does have a part-time job as the town manager of their suburb in Maryland, and she makes I think was it like $90,000 a year from that. So she has a plush part-time job from that front. But other than that, no, she doesn't contribute an enormous amount to the actual net worth calculation.
And Kyle,
but she is part owner of the house, I should say. She's a part owner of the house. So there's that.
Absolutely. And Kyle, we touched on this a little bit, but lay it out for us, paint a picture with the other justices. How does Brett Kavanaugh's net worth stack up?
Well, we've only valued three other ones so far. So, I'm not going to spoil any of the ones we have still coming. But I will say Brett Kavanaugh is the least wealthy of the folks we've valued so far. So we've got John Roberts at $25 million, we've got Sonia Sotomayor at $5 million, and we've got Clarence Thomas at $4 million, and then we've got Brett Kavanaugh at $2 million.
Kyle Mullins, I appreciate your reporting. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you, Brittany. Always glad to be here.